Thanks, Rob. Now, over the weekend, Disney and YouTubeTV cut a post-deadline deal to bring back large cable channels such as ESPN, FX, and many others. Now, joining us to talk about the impact of this deal is business and market analyst and Newsmax contributor, Seth Denson. Seth, welcome back to Wake Up America, and hope you had a lovely weekend.
Good morning, Sarah. I did. It was a little chilly down here in Texas. We got a little bit of that Christmas feel, but don't worry, it's going to be 80 degrees come December 25th. So.
Well, this is the coldest day that I've experienced here in New York so far, so I understand what it's like. It's getting far too cold for me here. But anyway,
sure.
We have a lot to talk about, so let's move on. YouTubeTV and Walt Disney reaching its deal yesterday to restore the access of the Disney-owned channels, including ESPN and FX for its subscribers. Now, this was after some customers lost their beloved channels for a small amount of time. Now, what was holding up this agreement in the first place?
Well, you know, timing is everything, right? And matter of fact, when Disney pulled the plug on YouTube, it was right in the middle of the Lakers and Timberwolves game. So I think that maybe they're just not Lakers fans. I don't know. But nonetheless, no, listen, what was holding this up? Money and control. These two, Hulu and YouTubeTV specifically, are battling it out over subscribers and control of this new world of streaming television services. A lot of people are cutting the cord. About 20% of Americans have moved to this type of service. And certainly it was about the contractual obligations on both sides. One side wanted more money than the other. One side probably thought there might be more control to gain. So I think that's what ultimately was holding this one up.
Well, YouTube is said to have more than 4 million subscribers. So if this did drag on, do you think that this would have just resulted in more unhappy customers, and that's really, at the end of the day, what really just did fuel the deal?
Well, I do think that was a big part of it, Sarah. And, you know, YouTube, yes, their YouTube Live, I should say, is about 4 million. So is Hulu Live. Now, Hulu's $6, $7, $8 paid subscription service is dwarfing YouTube, but YouTube doesn't have that slimmed down unlive version. I think that that's a big part of it. You know, you got to recognize, too, Disney is dwarfed by Google, which owns YouTube Live, and YouTube itself makes up about 10% of Google's revenue. Google's about 3 times the size of Disney. And so I think that there was concern also because there's been rumblings about what if Google were to just buy Disney out. Obviously, you get into FTC issues here, but a deal was going to be struck, especially coming into the holiday season, and apparently Mickey Mouse went ahead and struck the deal.
Now, I just want to pivot here for a second, Seth, because this question is very important to me. I come from a long line of Christmas psychopaths, if you will, and because of the supply chain issues, there seems to be a shortage in the peppermint harvest. Now, that means that there's going to be a lot less candy canes in store. How are we going to cope with this during Christmas time?
Boy, when it rains, it pours, and I'm sure the left is already figuring out a way to blame Donald Trump for this. But nonetheless, no, this is a sad thing. I'm not a big candy cane person myself. I'm more of the chocolate come Christmas time. But Mrs. Denson is a big fan of Christmas. We have multiple Christmas trees up, and there's a fewer candy canes on the trees this year. Listen, this is just all part of the global economic supply chain problem. About 70% of the U.S. Candy canes come from here in the U.S. And so a lot of that's in Central Oregon, and we just had some issues with weather and supply chain, and hopefully come next year, well, we'll bring those candy canes back.
Seth, that is something that you and I have in common, because although we just have candy canes for decorative purposes, but every single morning on Christmas Day, our entire family eat chocolate for breakfast.
There
so
you go.
that is the tradition in our household. Anyway, Seth Denson, thank you so much for your time.